Welcome to Distorted Opinions. I'm Kayla. As always, I'm with Matt and Ted. And today we're going to be talking about a topic that I think it's a good time to maybe remind people that the title of this show is Distorted Opinions, opinions being the key word, because we're about to share some of our opinions. And I think maybe some of our audience is going to have a differing opinion. And so we invite you, if you disagree with us or if you agree with us even, to reach out to us on one of the many platforms that we talk about at the end of every show and share your thoughts with us. But this is a topic that Matt and Ted and I have talked about kind of off the show, post show a couple of times now. We decided, maybe we should talk about this during a show. And that topic is virtual concerts. More specifically, are they worthwhile?
Nope. There we go.
There you have it. End of show.
I also vote no.
Yep, breaking the ice.
Yep.
And that's the other thing too, ladies and gentlemen. Let's all be nice. This is an opinion show, not a political show. There's no room for name calling. I will still be your friend.
No one calls anyone names on the internet.
Can't call us that. You silly
Everyone is very cordial.
Comment, apparently.
But virtual concerts, hell no. Nope. I'd rather look at porn on the toilet rather than friggin' pay a ticket for a friggin' video that more than likely someone in this world's probably going to upload to a YouTube or anything like that. So.
Well, and that's exactly my problem with it. Like at the beginning of the whole pandemic and no concerts, we can't go out. We can't go see any portion of any show. And that's all terrible. But at the same time, I understand that bands make their money on touring. So I understand the need to put yourselves out there and to have a platform to be like, hey, we're going to do this special thing. We're going to play music for you. So come here, log in at this time. We'll give you a link. And if you pay a bit more, we'll give you merch because they make boatload of money on merch.
Yep. Sure.
So in a pandemic time when you can't tour, yeah, great. Hard part is I feel like the novelty, unless you're really a diehard fan, I can see you being like, I almost bought tickets to the Lamb of God virtual show that they did last summer. Big fan, love the bands, want to support them, not doing much, get a t-shirt, signed stuff from them for like $50. And so I'm like, all right, cool. I get like a limited shirt. I get signed stuff from the band and I get a ticket to this thing. $50. It gets shipped to my house. I don't have to go anywhere. Don't have to wait in line.
Including the ticket to watch the show or was.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, you go to the merch table, you're spending $30 for a t-shirt and then, get a signed thing on top of that. $50
plus the ticket,
and then you get to log in and see the show. I almost did it, but I didn't.
Yeah.
And then, Matt, to your point, 2 months later, here's a snippet on the internet.
Yeah.
On YouTube, and now I'm watching it for free.
Right.
And it's like, I don't need another T-shirt. Really,
right.
I have too many T-shirts. So at that rate, it's like, I'm happy I didn't spend the $50 because if I'm going to watch it for free somewhere else, it's just not worth the time.
Sure. So, and we know that in part of that discussion, Ted, there's a listener out there that said, well, what about supporting the musicians? Listen, just because us or anyone out there refuses to pay for a ticket that's online, does not necessarily mean that we don't support the band or the artist. It does not necessarily mean that we're never going to see them again. Okay. But there's something about going to a show, that live presence that is undescribable when you're going to see it. I mean, it's no different than staring at a screen or staring at, a TV show that, that you're pretty much paying for. And
speaking of staring at a screen, how many people are just watching the concert through their phone anyway?
Right.
Exactly. Plus, there's a lot of
be real though.
Yeah.
Really, you're talking in person.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like in person, people are just like holding it up.
Yeah, and then we get to see that crappy footage over on YouTube later on. It's like, oh, you're the guy that was holding up your phone in front of me for 3 hours that I couldn't see the show because I was watching it through your phone after I paid to see the show. Like that.
Yep.
That to me is one of the most annoying parts about people using their phones, but that's an entirely different show. So we'll table that for another episode. But yeah, you're right, Ted.
So here's something to think about. Okay. And again, I'm just going to go by fact, not by opinion, but by fact. Virtual concerts. Yes, it's an okay idea. Maybe it's the idiotic A&R reps out there that are pushing these artists to say, hey, you know what?
We're not trying to get into AR rep stuff.
No, I'm just saying because I mean, because bands and musicians, especially when they're signed to a label, have to meet the requirements, and the only thing that labels care about is money. Okay, and if the band is going to suffer because of a global pandemic and their only option is to go ahead and try to figure out, hey, how can we go ahead and create money? I mean, you're gonna have these A&R reps that are gonna say, hey, let's go ahead and let's throw you in front of
but
like
is it the A&R
webcam.
reps that are pushing those tours, or because the A&R reps have negotiated such a tight deal on music sales that the tours now become the lucrative income for the bands?
It's, I mean,
I feel like is that where the line is drawn? Because I feel like obviously music sales through iTunes, they get like, or like a Spotify play, they get like a billionth of a penny on every play. So
it doesn't even scratch the surface when it comes down to streaming.
So I'm curious, but just as a moneymaker for bands going
tours
into
and
it,
merch, I feel like that's it.
Basically. So again,
well,
back to.
Like then you've also got the road crews that are helping run those shows too, and it's not just the bands that have been hurting throughout this whole thing. You've got all those other people behind the scenes that have not been making money because they can't do shows right now. And you know, like I've got a neighbor who works for a company that does audio and lighting for major events and concerts, and he's been pretty much out of work for the last year because there have been no events. So yeah, the bands, it's a big deal for the bands, but it's also a big deal for all those other people behind the scenes. And like, I will agree that I'm not really interested in dishing out a ton of money to see a virtual concert. In fact, I don't know if we actually talked about this on an episode or if this was one of our after show discussions, but you know, Metallica had done a drive-in theater show that they pre-recorded a performance and then they had it show across drive-ins across the country. And I thought about going, and tickets, while probably reasonable if you had enough people that you could pile into a car, I think it was a maximum of 5 people. I think it was about $125 for a ticket to go see this concert at a drive-in. And at first I was like, oh,
you're paying $125 for a movie. The band's not even there.
But $125, if you can get 5 people to go with you, split 5 ways, is much more reasonable. But for me, like the whole point of quarantining is that you're not supposed to get into a confined space with other people. So who am I going to bring with me to a Metallica show at a drive-in theater that's going to help me kind of even out that cost? So for me, it would be me spending $125 to go by myself to a drive-in and watch Metallica. And then they had a tour shirt for it. And the tour shirt was just as much as it would be if you were going to see them at a concert. And I couldn't justify that. But on the other side of things, Town Meeting, and we've had Luke on the show from Town Meeting. Luke is probably listening to or watching this right now. So
shout out to Luke.
Shout out. Town Meeting, early on in the pandemic, they did a virtual show, and they were actually one of the first bands that I saw that was doing a virtual show. And the way they did it was, instead of you paying to watch the show, it was streamed live on Facebook, and I think it might have been on YouTube as well. And instead, they recommended that you make a donation in whatever amount you would pay to see them play live. And so I don't think I'm mistaken in saying this, but if I am, I'm sure Luke will reach out and correct us. But I think one of the things they did is because they had a production company that helped them do this. They went to a studio, Weird Fish Productions and Rango Studios, and they had lighting professionals, sound professionals, camera operators, a director. It was a highly produced show that they put out online, and they split the donations with the various people that helped put this on. So it wasn't just a benefit to the band members, but it was also a benefit to all of those people behind the scenes who weren't getting work at that point because there were no events happening. And so like that I'm willing to pay some money for, but I have a harder time when it's $125 to go to a drive-in and watch a movie.
I could tell you this. There's a couple things.
Yeah.
One, okay, town meeting is just phenomenal. Okay, we'll say that again. Town meeting is just phenomenal. Okay.
Hey, and they're back to playing in-person shows, by the way. Just want to throw that out there.
Yes, they are.
Shoot.
Yeah.
I'm a big advocate for local music.
Sure.
Because they don't get the recognition that they deserve.
Sure.
So local music and then commercialized music, which is all the millions and all, they get plenty of funds from that. But the local guys with the real talent, don't get the recognition. And that's where they get the support from us. So on contrary to that, as I would have made a donation to that show, any localized show, any localized band artist, that I'm a fan of, because they deserve it. But on the contrary to that, though, there's also, as in life, as there's a yin, there's also a yang. Okay. The thing with virtual concerts, and I'm going to use an example, is that you pay this money, you pay $125, for a concert. All right. What happens if something goes wrong? Now, say I just bought a $50 ticket to go watch
any band.
the band or something like that. Okay. Now all of a sudden the streaming service doesn't work. And now they have to cancel it. Now is that is that equivalent to maybe Five Finger Death Punch DCU arena walkout? Okay. It's similar. Okay. But the fact is you're in your own home, you're in your PJs. Okay. You're cracking beers or having drinks or anything like that.
You're not paying $9 a piece for them.
Yeah.
A lot cheaper.
And the service, is not even applicable. Metallica did a Twitch.
Yes, I thought of this, and I was hoping that they're going to bring this up.
Metallica did a Twitch concert. And for those that are not familiar with it, I highly recommend that after this episode, or maybe even during this episode, as we talk about it, YouTube Metallica Twitch concert. It literally happened this year. Yeah, they're playing live. And then there are some streaming services, that have an automated filter that
copyright.
Yeah, pretty much copyrights. Okay. Yeah. And it messed up Metallica's live.
They got copyright flagged by their own music is what happened.
Exactly.
Now the argument could be it was Twitch, it was free. Okay. Well, that's great. Okay. Regardless, the fact is that it was a live performance. Okay. It was a virtual live performance that got interrupted because of a service. So how would you feel if you paid $50 or $125 to watch your favorite band, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, they're playing One or Nothing Else Matters, and next thing you know, it gets interrupted with elevator music? I would be pissed.
Right.
Yeah.
So in that point, you would hope that they would be providing a refund to compensate for that, because no one got the experience that they were hoping for. But no, that's certainly one factor of it. And then to backtrack onto the Metallica piece, Metallica, I had read, was paid $1 million to perform for that particular event. And they played whatever amount of songs that they played. And it was like a promotional event, like some gaming thing that was promoted on Twitch, and that they got elevator music instead, which is hilarious.
It is their own music.
Yeah. So then the Napster fighters got bit
got
back
a piece of their
from
pie.
what, what they created 25 years ago. But yeah, no, to your point though, you would hope that the services, if there is an impact like that, you would be compensated, but it should be a clause when you buy the ticket. It should be hopefully part of the deal.
Should.
Well, and I would hope that most bands, I mean, I feel like that's a rare exception that something like that happens, because I think a lot of these bands that are doing this are either not using a platform like Twitch or YouTube that's going to mute their soundtrack because their copyright scanning algorithm has flagged their live music, but also I would hope that if they were going to use those, that there would have been proactive measures. And if I recall, and I don't know all the details about that Twitch thing, but they weren't the ones hosting it. It was whatever
they were
organization it was that hired them. And so maybe nobody considered that was going to be a possibility, but that's kind of a little bit on that organization for not being like, hey, is this going to be a problem? Because I mean, anytime you put a clip, and it's not just Twitch, it's YouTube, it's Facebook now. It's
any of them. Yeah.
Videos that I've posted with music on Facebook that all of a sudden I got one from years ago that I'm talking like 13, 14 years ago, got flagged the other day because a song that I had in it apparently was copyrighted, and so they muted that section of my video. So now even Facebook on personal accounts is doing that. Instagram, I think, is doing it as well. Of course, they're owned by Facebook. Yep. And so, I think if a band is going to do a live concert, they either are not using those platforms, or hopefully they've done their due diligence to make sure that if they're going to do a performance, because I'm sure they put a lot of time and money also into promoting that they're doing these things. So the last thing you want, if you're a band who's going to do this, is you start your show and all of a sudden 30 seconds into it, your music is muted. I don't know. Maybe that's the production person in me. If I were the person on the other end, I'd be panicking to figure out how the hell do we get this to not be muted right now, because we have this live feed going out. So it's just, I do feel that's a rare exception, but yeah, I can certainly see if somebody had paid for a show and something like that happened, like I'd want my money back if I couldn't hear the music. What's the point in that? It's like,
exactly.
Not the 1930s where we have silent movies. I mean, that doesn't work for a band concert. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they put the musical notes on the screen and then you can watch it dance or something.
Text pops up and it's like, they're playing Nothing Else Matters.
So here's another element. Okay, here's another missing element. Okay, that virtual concerts cannot do that live concerts can. Now here's a little bit of a trivia for both you guys. What is one thing, that every single live concert does, every single band artist does in the live concert?
Interacts with the fans.
Bingo. Now we talked, I mentioned earlier about little undescribable scenarios, elements. Okay. In a video, you're not going to get Boston, how we doing? Okay, in the crowd going wild. You're not going to get San Diego, how you doing? I love this. No, you're not going to get.
It's not a WWE event where they can see people in their couches, watching them.
Right.
The interaction is different.
You're paying a ticket, for someone to press play. And it's just a pre-recorded show that, it's honestly, I think no different than if you were to go ahead and go to the movie theaters and watch a movie or watch YouTube or something like that.
Right. But then that goes back into the question or the element of it being a unique experience. Because if it's a unique experience and this is a one-time deal and you have to be there or be square like it is with a live show, you have one tour night, one show night in the city. We're here doing it here now. That's it. If you're there, you're there. It's great. The nice thing about it being online is that it does reach farther audiences, but at the same time, when it shows up on YouTube in about 2 months and I don't have to pay for it.
Right.
Why would I ever have needed to pay? I'm happy I didn't pay. I want it to be that unique experience. Right. I want it to be a unique experience. So it is like this whole, like, I was there for that type of mentality, like the group mentality of a live show. But when it's impersonal, because there's no interaction like you were talking about, and then you're going to put clips up on YouTube later and I can just watch it for nothing. It's just a video. Like, well, and I think at that point,
the concert you were talking about, Ted, the Lamb of God concert, at least with that, they were throwing in some merchandise for the cost of the ticket. True. That Metallica show, that was just to get in and see the movie. Anything you wanted to get for merchandise was above and beyond.
Not tour. You said
you called it a movie. Well, it was.
Thank you.
We've converted her into thinking it's a movie.
I mean, it is, isn't it? You're going to a drive-in and you're watching a pre-recorded show. It's not, to me, that's not a concert. A concert is actually being there and seeing it live. And I'm willing to pay, as you guys will well know, I'm willing to pay more money to go see. I mean, as much as $125 was a lot of money for that particular Metallica show, I had no problem dropping more than twice that to get tickets to go see them the last time they came through Foxborough, because I knew I was getting really good seats. And I also didn't know whether or not that could potentially be the last time that I might see them in this area, because of, I mean, think about it. They've been touring for almost 40 years now. And at some point here, there's going to come a time where they're going to go, all right,
we're done. Yeah.
We're retiring from this. No more tours. And so, I'm willing to pay more money for that experience. I'm not willing to pay $125 to get in my car, use my gas in my car to drive to the drive-in, which was not somewhere real close. I mean, it wasn't terribly far, but I think I would have had to go either up to New Hampshire or somewhere out to the southeastern part of the state or something to get to the nearest drive-in. And then that's all you get is you're going to the drive-in and watching this pre-recorded thing. And granted, again, I don't want to discount the fact that I'm sure that's also paying for, they still had to have their sound crew, their roadies, their lighting crew, like
all
they had
the
to
setup
have
behind the scenes, like because
they set it up like a show when they recorded it. And I get that, but 120, and again, if you're going with a carload of people, that works out to not be a ton, but I'm just wondering how many people actually went with, say, 5 other people, which was the max that you could bring to balance out that cost, because I know that wouldn't have been me. So I mean,
those are going to be the the hardcore diehard
I consider myself pretty hardcore diehard Metallica fan, but there's a point in the sand now that I've reached a certain age where I draw the line, and it's like, and like you, Ted, I've got enough shirts. How many more shirts do I need?
Another shirt right
I almost
now.
bought a shirt, but I'm like, well, if I don't even go to that, then what's the point? It's $40 for a t-shirt that I'm probably, other than wearing it when we do this show or maybe on the weekends, like when am I going to wear that? Because
follow-up question for that Metallica drive-in movie. Is that on sale for purchase on DVD from their website?
Not that I've seen. That was the one thing they did say.
I was like, are they going to turn around and make this a second money grab for everyone that missed it in the theater?
They will.
I haven't even seen clips of it online, to be totally honest.
I'll tell you why. Okay. They're not going to do it obviously anytime soon. Okay. But I'm sure that they will get a flood of responses from fans that said, I wasn't able to see it. And then they'll release it.
Right. I mean, even prior to pandemic things, you could always go out and buy live performances on DVD for X number of bands anyway.
Yeah.
To help fill in the gap when they weren't touring or whatever. If you're big, I've got a bunch myself for some of my favorite bands. But again, the convenience of just having a recording is great. Having it available is great. But the value of that experience is like DVD level
Sure.
to me. Like,
Sure.
but I want to own it at the end of the day. If it's free, it's on YouTube, great. But I don't know. Like if it's that impersonal, I'm just ready. I'm satisfied to just sit back and treat it like a movie, if you will.
Well, and I honestly, so even when those guys are touring in person, they record all of their concerts. They've got cameras. They do video of all the concerts. They also do audio recording. But the one thing I haven't really ever seen them do in recent years is release any of that as a DVD or a file or anything that you could purchase to watch the video. What they have done is you can get a CD or a digital download of the audio from that show. So when I went to the last Foxborough show, you can bet your butts that I bought the audio. I think I got the download and the CD of the Foxborough show because I wanted that because I was there. So but they do that for every concert now. You can get the audio recording of every show. So if you went to a show somewhere else, they have that, but they never release the video. They might release a clip like when I went to see them the last time they were in the area, it was actually, I think, 2 days after Chris Cornell passed. And so the drum or the bass and guitar solo, Rob actually did a tribute to Chris Cornell during his bass solo. He played Black Hole Sun, I believe. And so they did post a video of Rob doing that tribute, but that's the only video clip that I think got posted from that show. It's not like, okay, we recorded the whole thing, here's a DVD. So I feel like you still have to, if you want the experience, you still have to be there because you don't even really get the option of afterwards being like, well, I couldn't go to the show, but they're going to have the recording of it out on DVD. Whereas like, it seems a lot of these bands that are doing the virtual shows, it's been recorded anyway, and they're putting those out there. But Metallica is one band that I haven't even seen, and I haven't looked real hard, but I haven't even seen somebody's bootlegged phone of the screen.
Yeah, someone had that on Dash Mount.
Like, yeah, none of that. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if at some point down the road, like maybe in a year or so, they're like, oh, well, if you couldn't make it to our drive-in theater tour, here's the DVD, the Blu-ray of our, performance that we showed at the theater. Maybe they will do that, but I don't know. I feel like it's probably going to be unlikely just given that they record all of their concerts anyway. They film all of those and they don't make them available for people to purchase. So, I digressed a little bit there, but
yeah,
maybe.
I mean, that still all ties into, how you value the experience.
True.
And
yeah.
For
in person is not going to no virtual concert's going to
it's not going to
replace an in-person show. And I suspect when people can return to in-person shows, quite frankly, and I'm going to have to censor myself for a change, it's going to be a shit show. I mean,
well, let me also enlighten you. I did see that there is some tours lining up for in-person. Megadeth and Lamb of God.
Really?
Trillium and In Flames. Woo. Yes, please.
Yep.
That's in person.
Nice.
I don't know what venue that is, but that would be in September in Boston-ish. I mean,
really?
We have a lot of venues, yeah. So I'm hopeful for a live show this year. I feel like we're mostly rounding the curve here. We've got the vaccine out. We're doing some things. So hopeful we're able to do something normal again. But that would be one I'll be eyeing for a live show.
Closely.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
yep.
But yeah, to your point, Matt, going back to the local music bit, because I do think that's an important distinction.
Yeah.
Having not to discredit, musicians from a metal perspective, they're not necessarily millionaires unless you're at like Metallica level, and then you're just like S tier, like up above charts. Not to take away all of the people they employ and moving that, tour along, even setting up the show for digital. But to go for the local guy and just local shows and the small bands that just want to make it or at least put their music out and have an opportunity like
totally worth it.
Town Meeting. Like, that's such a cool thing. I didn't even know they had a virtual show. And and then the pay if you are inclined to option, I think is a nice, generous option, way to keep the door open for monetizing it, but at the same time not forcing, because it is the internet. And you kind of, I don't know, the value that people put on streaming in a lot of ways, that kind of changes how much money people are willing to spend or tune in. Also, or if you want to reach a larger audience, you don't need to charge because you're trying to get your music out there anyway as a smaller artist. So it works on a lot of levels. So kudos to them.
Also, they did this. It was very early on in the pandemic. It was, I want to say maybe April or May of last year. So like I said, they were one of the first bands that I saw that was doing a virtual concert. So I don't think it had really become the thing that it has been over the last few months. So I would say they were kind of at the ground level of doing that, which I think also had a benefit, because at that point people were just like, okay, this is weird. We can't leave our houses. We can't go anywhere. Oh, hey, look. Town Meeting is doing this really awesome live concert on Facebook right now. And I mean, that's a big part of why I tuned into it, because I was like, oh, hey, it's, right here. Right. I can just open it up on my computer and watch this show while I do some work or whatever it was I was doing at that particular point in time. And I even introduced a coworker to it because I'm like, oh, check this out. This is Town Meeting. I know these guys. Grew up with all of them, and now she's a fan of Town Meeting as well. So I think, like you said, it's an opportunity to reach a larger audience, but also I think because they were one of the early bands to do this, it was a very different situation with the whole donate what you feel is appropriate versus bands now that are like, well, if you want to come to the show, it's going to be $50 or
similar to venues when you're pay to play.
Right.
Ooh, get out of my face.
Yeah. I mean, and not to mention for all of the venue workers and people that were out of work because we couldn't do any of those event arena location things at the same time, certainly nice that there were so many charities that opened up to try to help support those people at the same time. But yeah, it's complicated. And again, Distorted Opinion audience, what did you think? Do you agree with any of the? I mean, I feel like we've talked in enough circles around a few argument points that I feel like somebody agrees with something. But what do you listeners think of this particular topic? Do you agree? Is a virtual concert worth it? Do you have to be a diehard fan to want to pay money to watch a show online as opposed to watching on YouTube? Or I don't know. Tell us what you think.
Have you paid money to go watch a virtual concert? What was your experience like?
Yeah.
What did you think? Was it worth it? Was it not? We want to hear it.
Cue
Please.
Kayla's spiel for all of the social medias.
Yeah. So, the usual, if you've been following this show for a while, you can leave us a voicemail on our Anchor page at anchor.fm/distorted opinions. There's also links to our social media accounts there as well, or you can just search for Distorted Opinions on Facebook and Instagram. You'll find us there. And you can also email us, distortedopinionshow@gmail.com. And we'll respond to you, whatever method you choose to use. But yeah, reach out to us. Let us know what you think.
We'll respond.
Obviously our opinions this is just 3 opinions on this particular topic, and everybody's going to have a different viewpoint. Yes.
Trace
opiniones. So yes. On that note,
Song.
Are we ready to go into song of the week?
Oh yeah, I forgot that I had made notes for the song of the week at like the last minute again.
Yes. Yeah.
That's on me. Oh,
It's all
this
good.
screen is bright. Whew. All right, I'm over here now.
Fire.
Do you need a moment to get your thoughts together?
I know what I'm ready to queue up.
Want me to jump in?
So, for my song of the week this week, it is a classic, my favorite song this band has done. Band is Megadeth. Song Symphony of Destruction.
Yes.
Oh, great song.
Absolute banger of a tune. And just going through trying to think of just substantial songs. We've kind of gone off the rails with just some deep cuts, random picks, but had to go front and center for this one. So Symphony of Destruction, 1992, from Megadeth, and it's certainly everyone knows it. I don't even have to talk about it. That's my song. That's my song of the week. Like, it is that good, and it should be everywhere. So it needs to be on our Spotify playlist.
Needs to be in our jam session playlist as well. I'm just going to put that out there.
Okay, done.
Just
sometimes I have a Symphony of Destruction after I have too much tacos in the toilet.
Yeah, sorry for your plumber.
Cue the Top Gun bell now. And people everywhere running out to get Taco Bell. It's like Pavlov's dog.
Oh my God, you're so gross.
Hashtag not sponsored by Taco Bell.
Yeah, that's right.
But should we jump into the other one? All right, I'll jump into the other one. So my song of the week, I'm gonna tone it down a little bit. I'm gonna tone it down. Okay. Hey, listen, I don't care what anyone says. Sometimes we all have a soft side. Okay. I'm gonna mention about a soft side right now. So I'm gonna talk about one of the bands that was actually introduced to me from a colleague of mine. Okay. About 4 or 5 years ago. And this band, I think I've actually mentioned them before in previous podcasts and whatnot, but I'm going to reference the band Beach House, and the song specifically is going to be Space Song from the album Depression Cherry, released August 28th, 2015. For those that don't know who Beach House is, if you like that type of dream pop type of group, this is going to be that type of band and whatnot. So listening to this song actually came to me by surprise on Spotify, because I had their album Bloom, fell in love with it, and I didn't even realize that Depression Cherry was actually released not that long ago afterwards. So Spotify came back on. Spotify was on, and this song came up, and I was like, wow, what is this? This must be like a B-side. And it wasn't. It was off of the new album that was just released, and Space Song. So the best way I could probably explain it is the song almost kind of seems like it's like about self-reflection. Okay. Like the beginning of the song opens up with this guitar type of tone with it almost sounds like it's got like a flanger or a chorus to it, but it's got like sliding techniques too, so it makes it feel like you're in like a weary dreamland. But also too with the synthesizers and the keyboards, that it's got like almost kind of like this bubbly type of tone, so it almost makes it seem like you're kind of like in this in space and whatnot. So very psychedelic. If I could probably paint a picture to the song, is imagine you're talking to your younger self that's literally like a kid, and you're trying to give advice to yourself of what you know now, of what you may have not known back then. But really great song. I was really contemplating between that song and a song called Leviation off of Depression Cherry, but definitely highly recommend it. So my song is going to be Space Song from the group Beach House off the album Depression Cherry. And other than that, Kayla, what do you got?
Yeah, so before I get into my song of the week, just the usual reminder with a little extra this week. So as usual, we have our Spotify Song of the Week playlist. We put the link to that in the description of every show. So if you want to hear any of the songs we're talking about in this episode or any of our previous picks in their entirety, you can find them there. I'm also going to try something new for those of you watching the video version. And if you don't see it there, that means that it did not work the way I wanted it to, and you can still just click the link. I'm going to put a Spotify scan code on the screen, and all you have to do is open up the Spotify app on your phone or your mobile device, and there's a little camera button in the search bar, and you hold it up to the screen, and it will scan the Spotify code and open the playlist for you in Spotify. So
boom.
There you go. If you're watching the video version, if that pops up, you can find it that way. If it doesn't pop up, or if you're listening to the audio only version, we'll still put the link in the description, so you can just click on the link the old fashioned way as well. With that, my pick is not an artist that I think has done a virtual show. At least I don't think he has, but one of the last, I think, in-person concerts that I went to. And that artist is Eric Johnson doing Cliffs of Dover off of the 1990 album Avia Musicom. This is one of my favorite guitar pieces of all time.
Mine as well.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I think this is probably the song that I heard and I was like, that's what I want to play. I want to play that. And so, back, I think in about 2016, Eric did a show. It was an all acoustic performance. I didn't even realize he had acoustic albums, but he does. And my dad and I went to see him. There's a local venue here called the Bull Run, and the Bull Run's pretty cool because it's a small venue, but they do get a lot of pretty big name artists that come through. So it's an opportunity to see some of these people in a real intimate setting. And so Eric came through, he did an acoustic show. My dad and I went, it was fantastic. And then about a year later in 2017, we saw that he was coming back to the Bull Run to do an electric show. And we were like, we're going to this. So the way it works, it's like a dinner show. So they have tables. Depending on who the artist is, they try to fit either 6 or 8 people per table. So you buy your tickets and you are reserved at a certain table, but where you sit at that table really depends on what time you show up for the show. So we were like, we're getting there early. We want to sit. We got a table right up in front of the stage, and we got there as soon as the doors opened so that we could get seats that were on the stage side of the table. So
that's so awesome, by the way.
Yeah, you can only imagine my reaction when at the end of his set, I mean, it wasn't cool enough to have him standing at any given point anywhere between 3 and maybe 15 feet away while he played. Then the last song of the set, he plays Cliffs of Dover, and I just about fell out of my chair because I'm sitting 6 feet away from him while he plays this song that has just been one of my all-time favorites as a guitar player to listen to over the years. And if you haven't heard the song somehow,
fix yourself.
Well, yes, fix yourself. But also, if you Google it, the HQ Studio version on YouTube, or it's called the HQ Studio version in the title. First of all, the comments are gold, but there's one commenter that I think about sums this song up. And he wrote, "When I was a kid, I found a $50 bill just laying on the sidewalk one day. I rounded up all my friends and we all went to the ice cream store. This is the soundtrack of that day." I mean, does it get any better?
It is.
That's
good. No,
that
I could see that.
That about summed it up for me. I mean, it's a very upbeat, happy sounding tune, and it's just a great song. I've been trying to play this song for as long as I've been playing guitar, and I think at this point I'm lucky if I can fumble my way through the chorus at half speed. And that's like 20 years of off and on trying to learn to play this song. It is and that's where the comments on the YouTube upload of that are really gold, because it's a lot of like, well, this song is really easy to play. You just pop the CD into the CD player and it's just like sarcastic stuff.
I remember listening to that on cassette for the longest time. I think I still have the cassette somewhere. Before I also got it on Napster. But I still have. Yeah. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Wait, this is live?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is an absolutely fantastic song. It is a classic. As cool as the recorded version is, the live versions of it are even more amazing. He makes it look so incredibly easy when he plays.
Well, if you play it for 40 years, 30 years, like
any song though, I mean,
fine.
like any of his songs, just watching him when he performed at the Bull Run, it was like, Jesus, he makes that look easy. And the man has, I think I might have talked about this in one of our early shows, but his pedal board is massive. I don't know how many pedals he has, but the thing has got to be 5 feet wide with pedals. I mean, it was just because we're up in front of the stage, so we can see it because it's right there.
Did you just like lean over and we're like,
oh yes,
this one?
Oh no. I didn't touch his pedals. No, I took a picture of his pedal board though. It's somewhere. No, my dad and I spent a lot of time talking about his pedal board because it was just ridiculous. I'm like, does he actually use all of those pedals? Because there's a lot of pedals on there.
Did you smell him? Creepy.
No.
Weird.
No. Good Lord.
I wonder what this pedal smells like. Sweat and blood.
Ew.
Yeah, creepy.
On that note,
all right. Well, I think we're gonna have to end this
Cliffs
here.
of Dover. That's my pick of the week, and be sure to check out our
Not
Spotify
Werewolves
playlist.
of London. Cliffs of Dover.
Not Werewolves of London. No. All right. So that's all the time we have for this show. I think we better wrap it before this gets out of hand. And again, as a reminder, if you have a suggestion for a future topic, or if you want to share your thoughts on this episode, leave us a voicemail at anchor.fm/distorted opinion. Send us an email at distortedopinionshow@gmail.com. Leave us a comment on any of our social media accounts and let us know what you think. With that, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week with a new episode. See you then.
See you later.
See ya.